Hi, you sit down to deal with something financial. Maybe it's taxes. Maybe it's a medical bill that's been sitting on your counter for 2 weeks. You have not even looked at the numbers yet. And already your shoulders are up, your jaw is clenched, and your brain feels like it is moving through fog. Why is your brain already shutting down before you've even started? A landmark study published in Science found that financial worry can reduce your cognitive function by the equivalent of 13 IQ points. Your brain's not broken, it is responding to a very specific kind of load. I'm Coach Janet J, and today on Your Next Best Step, we are exploring why your brain goes offline when money stress shows up, and one practice that can bring it back before you engage. On Monday, we talked about the invisible labor that keeps everything running, all the unseen work you pour into the people around you. And in that episode, I mentioned that today's conversation was coming. Some of you probably felt a little tightness just hearing the word bill. That reaction is exactly what we are unpacking today. Now, if you have been listening to this show for a while, you might remember when we talked about financial stress. In episode 40, back in January, we explored what your nervous system does when you open a credit card statement after the holidays. And in episode 27, last December, we covered budgeting and the enough number. Today is a different conversation. We are not covering how to budget. We are not addressing holiday spending. We are going deeper into what happens in your brain. Specifically, what financial worry does to your ability to think clearly, because that piece changes everything. Here's what I want you to notice about today. Whether it's tax day and you filed at 11:58 last night, or you just hit submit this morning and your stomach is still in knots, or you are staring at a number you were not expecting, or there's that medical bill on your counter and you keep walking past, or a retirement conversation you and your spouse have been avoiding for months, or you are managing all of your finances alone and every decision sits on your shoulders. There is a moment right before you engage with anything financial where your body speaks first, and your mind often responds by going quiet, foggy, slow. What we are exploring today is why that happens. Because this is not a discipline problem and it is not a faith problem. It is a cognitive load problem. And once you understand that, you can work with your brain instead of against it. Quick note, I am not a financial advisor, and this is not financial guidance. If you are looking for budgeting strategies or stewardship principles, episode 30 covered some of that ground. Today is about what is happening in your body and brain when financial stress shows up and what to do before you sit down with the numbers. Before we get into the research, I want to anchor us somewhere. Isaiah 26:3 says, "You will keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on you because he trusts in you." I want you to sit with three things in that verse. First, perfect peace. In Hebrew, this is shalom, shalom. Peace repeated, peace doubled. It is not a moderate calm. It is a completeness of peace that goes beyond what the moment warrants. Second, whose mind is stayed. The word stayed means supported, leaning, fixed. It is a mind that has found something solid to rest on. When your mind is running financial calculations in the background, jumping between worst case scenarios and unfinished tasks, it is the opposite of stayed. It is unanchored, scattered. And the research we are about to look at will show you exactly what that scattered state does to your cognitive capacity. Third, because he trusts in you. The peace is not produced by willpower. It is produced by trust. Your brain cannot manufacture shalom shalom on its own. And in a few minutes, the science will confirm exactly why. Financial worry literally reduces the cognitive resources available to you. The peace Isaiah describes comes from a source outside your own mental bandwidth. Hold on to that because the research is about to show us why we need it. So here is what the research tells us. In 2013, a team of researchers, Mani Maluthanan, Shafir, and Saho, published a study in the Journal of Science that fundamentally changed how we understand financial stress. They tested shoppers at a mall in New Jersey and sugarcane farmers in India, and they found the same thing in both groups. When financial concerns are active in your mind, your cognitive performance drops by the equivalent of 13 IQ points. Let me put that in perspective. 13 IQ points is the difference between average and borderline deficient in cognitive functioning. It is a larger impairment than what researchers see after a full night of lost sleep. And it's not because financially stressed people are less intelligent. The same farmers performed significantly better after harvest when they had money than before harvest when they were worried about it. Same brain, same person, different cognitive bandwidth, depending on whether financial worry was present. So, when you sit down to review your taxes or look at a bank statement and your brain feels slow, scattered, or foggy, that is your working memory being occupied by financial worry, leaving less capacity for the task in front of you. Your brain is running too many background programs, and the one you need most, clear, focused thinking, does not have enough power to function well. And it compounds. A 2022 meta analysis published in Human Brain Mapping found that monetary loss, or even the anticipation of financial loss, activates the anterior insula, a brain region involved in processing pain. We touched on this concept briefly in episode 40 when we talked about the post-holiday financial stress, and the research has only gotten stronger since then. Your brain does not neatly separate this is a money problem from this is a pain problem. It processes them in overlapping neural territory. According to Bankrate's 2025 Money and Mental Health Survey, 43% of American adults say that money negatively affects their mental health. And money remains the number one factor cited ahead of politics, health concern, and world events. Women are more likely than men to report that impact. And a 2024 study in Scientific Reports found that adults with fewer financial assets had more than twice the odds of screening positive for depression and anxiety. Across 58 longitudinal studies reviewed in that same paper, 83% found a significant link between financial stress and depression. This is one of the most well-documented stressors in research. And the cognitive piece, the part about your thinking capacity shrinking, is what makes it so difficult. You need your best brain to engage with financial decisions. And financial worry is the very thing that reduces your access to it. So here's where this gets personal. If you have ever stared at a document and read the same line 4 times because your brain could not hold on to it, that is the bandwidth problem. If you filed your taxes at the last possible moment, not because you're irresponsible, but because every time you sat down to start, your brain just could not engage. That is the bandwidth problem. If there is a financial conversation you need to have, and you keep finding reasons to postpone it, that is your brain protecting you from what it perceives as a threat. You are dealing with a cognitive load issue, And the encouraging part is there is something you can do about it, and it takes about 60 seconds. Physically, financial stress activates your sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight response. Heart rate increases, muscles tense, breathing goes shallow, digestion slows. Over time, chronic financial worry contributes to elevated cortisol, disrupted sleep, and inflammation. Your body absorbs every avoided bill and every postponed conversation. Mentally, the cognitive bandwidth research is clear. Financial worry occupies working memory the way a demanding app drains your phone battery. Every other decision, what to eat, how to respond to stress, whether to say yes to one more commitment, gets harder when your mental resources are already spoken for. Emotionally, money stress often carries shame, and shame drives avoidance. We do not open the envelope. We do not start the conversation. We do not look at the account. Each act of avoidance reinforces the cycle because now the task feels bigger than it did before. Spiritually, financial anxiety can quietly drown out what your spirit knows to be true about God's provision. You know the theology. And yet, when the numbers feel threatening, your nervous system can overpower your faith. Isaiah 26:3 tells us that perfect peace belongs to the mind that is stayed, fixed, anchored, leaning on God. When your cognitive bandwidth is depleted, your mind has nowhere solid to rest. The practice we are about to cover gives your nervous system a way to settle so that your mind can find that anchor again. So here is your next best step. Use this before your next financial task, whether that is opening a statement, having a money conversation, or sitting down with any paperwork that makes your chest tighten. This is called bilateral tapping. It comes from EMDR research on calming the nervous system, and a systematic review of studies found that it significantly reduces anxiety across multiple populations. Here is how it works. Cross your arms over your chest so each hand rests on the opposite shoulder, like you're giving yourself a hug. Then begin gently tapping, alternating left and right at a slow, steady rhythm, about 1 tap per second. While you tap, breathe slowly, in through your nose for 4 counts, out through your mouth for 6. Do this for 60 seconds before you engage. The alternating tapping activates both hemispheres of your brain. Research on bilateral stimulation shows this engages your parasympathetic nervous system, the system responsible for calm, rest, and clear thinking. It is your body's built in signal that says, we are not under threat. We can engage with this. And here is where this all comes together. While you tap, pray. You don't need a script. Just bring what is honest. Lord, my mind is scattered. I am asking you to steady it. Keep me in your peace as I sit down with this. That is Isaiah 26:3 in real time. Your mind stayed on Him, receiving a peace your brain cannot generate on its own. Your nervous system gets the bilateral signal that you are safe. Your spirit gets the truth that He is present. And you sit down to engage from steady ground instead of scattered fog. So here's what we covered today. Financial worry does not just stress you out emotionally, it measurably reduces your thinking capacity. Research shows a drop of equivalent to 13 IQ points, which means you are engaging with financial decisions using significantly less cognitive bandwidth than you normally have. Isaiah 26:3 promises perfect peace. Shalom, shalom, for the mind that is stayed on God. And your next best step is bilateral tapping. Cross your arms, tap gently, breathe slowly, and pray. 60 seconds to shift from scattered to steady. On Friday, we are going somewhere lighter. You know that feeling when you finally finish something you have been dreading? Your whole body relaxes, your shoulders drop, and there's this wave of something. Relief, satisfaction, maybe even a little pride. It turns out there is real science behind why that happens, and it connects directly to what we talked about today. That is Friday. Follow or subscribe wherever you are listening or watching so you don't miss it. And if you have a moment, a rating or review makes a real difference. It helps other women find this show. I am so grateful for everyone. I will see you next Friday. Take your next best.